Hello and welcome. My name is Sarah Peternell. I'm the owner of Family Nutrition Services in Denver, Colorado. I'm also the creator of a 30-day online program called Nourished and Renewed with Hashimoto's. So welcome. Today's video is more about the digestive system. I've been doing a series recently. You can check out some of those other videos about constipation, about bacteria overgrowth in the gut. There's also some videos about heartburn and many more. But one of the things I've been wanting to talk about that I find a lot of my clients ask about, and we also discover together when we do the GI map stool testing, is that many of my clients with Hashimoto's have something called low secretory IgA. Well, what in the world is this and what does it have to do with Hashimoto's? Glad you asked. So, secretory IgA is part of the immune system. And in fact, secretory IgA is the first line of all of the immune system cells in the digestive tract that help to keep the immune system that lives there, which is about 70% of your total immune system in the digestive tract, but also to keep it protected against all of the pathogens and toxins and viruses and bacteria and all of the food antigens to keep them at bay. So IgA stands for Immunoglobulin A. We have many different immunoglobulin systems in our body. This secretory IgA, the immunoglobulin that's in the gut, is mucosal cells. Now, these have a very special function in the body. I kind of like to think of them like slip and slide. So remember that old toy that you used to play with in your backyard on a warm summer day, and you would run the hose down it, right? And it would get real slippery, and everybody loved to run and slide on the slip and slide. Well, mucosal cells kind of act like that. They're supposed to be highly juicy and very much prepared so that should something enter the body via the mouth by way of food, that when that pathogenic whatever it is comes into contact with the mucosal cells, whoosh, they just slip and slide right off, right out of the body so that they can't stick, they can't harbor, they can't create colony forming units, they can't begin their overgrowth and development of biofilm. I am going to do another whole video just on biofilm because it's super fascinating. So our mucosal cells actually have a special type of cell. They are called B cells. And the B cells are these specialized protectors against invaders. So mucosal cells, not only are they slippery, but they have specialized invader cells. So secretory IgA, this part of the digestive system, is really super important. I have found in working with so many of my clients, especially my clients with autoimmune diseases and with Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune disease, that this part of the immune system is compromised. So what that means is that it can be either really, really high secretory IgA markers, or it can be low. In either case, it means that there is some dysfunction within the immune system. And secretory IgA also may be one of the reasons why autoantibodies or antibodies against self tissue begin to develop, because that self-regulating mechanism is not in place to distinguish between outside and inside, right? Or self and non-self. So one of the things that we can do as we work on leaky gut, dysbiosis, pathogenic bacteria that lives in the gut, all kinds of stuff, is to really be thinking about and focusing on secretory IgA and how to make it work again properly. If it's too high, we need to bring it down. If it's too low, we need to bring it up. And the lab that I use again is the GI map, and it shows kind of that sweet spot, that range where you want your secretory IgA to be so that you know that your immune system is functioning properly. So again, a little bit more about secretory IgA because I think you may find this interesting. This is a bit of a digression. Secretory IgA also are the mucosal cells that we do have elsewhere in the body, not just in the digestive tract. We have it in the nose and in the mouth and in the throat And there are also parts of our skin, mucosal membranes, and other orifices, right, that have these same types of characteristics. So I found the connection with a lot of my Hashimoto's clients who have these gut issues, also tend to have a lot of skin issues. So low secretory IgA, for example, can look like irritable bowel syndrome, and it can also look like eczema. So, if I'm working with a client and they come in and they're talking about food intolerances and gas and bloating and, urgent stools, and they're talking about, all of the things that they've been dealing with. Oh, and by the way, I've had this crazy patch of eczema on my back or shoulder or abdomen or behind my knee or on my elbow for a really long time. Typically, that is a connection, right? So, it's the first line of defense also on the outside of our body that isn't working properly. Now, people who also suffer from a lot of hay fever allergies, seasonal allergies, dander from pets or dust, all of the environmental types of pathogens that we come encounter with on a daily basis may also have some dysregulation within their secretory IgA system. All right, that was a bit of a digression, but I thought it was important to share because usually when I bring this up with my clients, they're like, oh, I had a feeling that something was connected, but I didn't know how, right? So this is what is kind of exciting. When we start to heal the gut, we can also start to heal other areas of the body. All right, so I'm looking at my notes here because I've got some important things I want to make sure that I share with you about secretory IgA and its role in helping you to feel better and to overcome some of your symptoms that you might be having with Hashimoto. So first of all, we do definitely know there are a lot of gut connections and a lot of digestive symptoms that are related to Hashimoto's. I've already talked about that. So what we want to try to figure out, even for the person who maybe doesn't have a lot of those gut issues, is what is the role of secretory IgA as it pertains to this dysregulated immune system, right? So if we can test to see what is going on with secretory IgA using the GI map test, and we can implement some strategies as part of the gut healing approach to boost IgA if it's low, we can start to kind of rewire the wonky immune system. And usually within a few months, those are the clients that start to see their antibodies against their thyroid start to come down. Okay, so what do we do to help boost the natural secretory IgA? Well, the first thing is that there can be some relationship with your stress patterns. Yep, you knew I was going to bring in a lifestyle factor. So if you are chronically stressed, if you are burning the candle at both ends, you're wired and tired, partying hard, working hard, there is a good chance that your secretory IgA is permanently suppressed, right? Because our stress plays a big role in how this part of our immune system functions. Low secretory IgA is becoming more and more common in adults and kids because of the world that we live in, and we're constantly bombarded with stress. So this is a bummer. This is unfortunate, right? We need to figure out how to get our stress under control. We need to have mindfulness practices. We need to have good coping skills. We need to have a toolbox of body, mind, spirit, things that you can incorporate on a daily basis to kind of start to rebuild and rewire this part of your immune system. We know that there is a link also with adrenal issues. So, I just said stress, right? We're talking about cortisol. We're talking about the adrenaline and noradrenaline and the DHEA levels in a person who has been chronically stressed. If a person has these types of, low secretory IgA markers on a stool test, it is not uncommon to see a dysregulated HPA, which is hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, on a salivary hormone test. Let me say that again. In individuals who test both the GI map and we see that they have low secretory IgA in the gut, it is also common when we test their salivary hormones to see that they have a dysregulated HPA, hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, which means that their adrenals are probably offline and not working very well. So people who have Low secretory IgA, they're under a lot of stress and their adrenals aren't working properly for them. And they also have a dysfunction in this first line against the invaders that we encounter on a regular basis. We want to make sure we have this protective layer of these B cells, right, to prevent bad stuff from entering into the bloodstream. So people who have low secretory IgA levels, they get sick a lot. So it's also a clue when I have a client who comes into my office and has Hashimoto's, but they're also talking about feeling really like, feverish and achy and like, gosh, everybody else got exposed to the same thing, but I was the one who got sick. You may have low secretory IgA. All right, so that's another insight into that. Also, low secretory IgA people tend to be like really chemically sensitive to smells. They hug their Aunt Jane and get a nice big hug full of Aunt Jane's perfume, and they feel like crap for the rest of the day because they are dealing with these chemical sensitivities all around them. People who are sensitive to new paint smells or new car smell or gasoline smells, they are all usually low secretory IgA people as well. So having low secretory IgA does raise the risk of Hashimoto's and other autoimmune diseases, and vice versa. Having Hashimoto's and other autoimmune diseases also means that you may be dealing with this kind of permanently suppressed IgA level in your body. Now remember, I just talked about the adrenals. That's because Hashimoto's and hypothyroid symptoms usually comes with a second dose or a side of low adrenal function. So all of these things are connected. People are usually pretty amazed when they find out that their gut function and their hormonal issues and their symptoms are actually all interrelated. Okay, so let's see. Let's talk about what we can do. So the first thing, as I said, is dealing with stress. We really, 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 really need to have this healing mindset, positive affirmations, daily gratitude journal, meditation, yoga, deep breathing, whatever it is, whatever it looks like, because you need to get your body out of fight or flight, right? If you are in this constantly stressed, all up here, all tight, all breathing in your upper part of your lungs, the gut is in this same sort of state of dysfunction where the body feels like it's perpetually running from the saber-toothed tiger. That's not good. So starting first with some really good stress combating habits and stress coping mechanisms will automatically help you start to rebuild your secretory IgA. Some of these are tongue twisters. Okay. The next thing that we need to do is make sure that we don't have the wrong balance of gut bacteria in the microbiome, right? So I'm talking about the small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. I'm talking about H. pylori. I'm talking about parasites. I'm talking about all of the stuff, right? This overgrowth of pathogenic stuff in the gut that got there because of maybe foreign travel, exposure to foreign food, soil, and water. Maybe it got there due to a case of food poisoning that never really got resolved. Maybe it got there because of antibiotic overuse as a kid for something like strep throat that allowed other pathogens to flourish. We can't always pinpoint the exact reason why we have an overgrowth of bacteria or other pathogens in the microbiome, but we do know that when they are abundant, the secretory IgA system usually has something to say about it, which is, this is too much. Excuse me. I'm going to have a little sip of water. I've been talking all day. Okay, back to the good stuff. The other thing is that in people who have low secretory IgA, they may have an abundance of pathogens, but they also might have low good bacteria. Now I'm talking about the protectors, the normal flora, the good guys, the friends, our healthy neighbors, right? We all have bacteria in our body and we need to have good bacteria. And so we need the right commensal balance of the healthy bacteria and some of the not so healthy so that they can cohabitate and not create dysfunction in the immune system. So taking a good probiotic can often be the very first step to working through dysbiosis. So if you are feeling like, oh my gosh, I know I have leaky gut, am I taking the right probiotic? You want to make sure that you have both colony forming units and transient probiotics that move through your intestinal tract. So let me explain a little bit more about what this means. Just going over to the grocery store and picking up some acidophilus or drinking some kombucha or trying some yogurt to see if it will fix your bacteria imbalance in the body is not usually enough. There is, in particular, Saccharomyces boulardii. You've heard me talk about it before, back with some of my other videos. Saccharomyces boulardii is a special beneficial yeast bacteria strain that helps to regulate secretory IgA and to help bring balance among the good and the bad. So you want to check your probiotic and make sure that this is included in there. Okay, there are some other really good strains that can help with supporting secretory IgA, but Saccharomyces boulardii or SAC-B is number one. All right, let's go to my next set of notes here. So your microbiome is super important. Now remember I was talking about how it's kind of like a slip and slide in there. If it's dry because you're dehydrated and you're not getting enough water, you can increase your hydration and begin to take an electrolyte supplement to help boost the juiciness of those cells in the digestive tract. So that is also really important, is staying very, very hydrated. Remember that all of life depends on water. Okay, let's see. Also, you want to include potentially some herbs, maybe some broad spectrum antimicrobial herbs, like a formula such as Biocidin. This is a product that I work with a lot in working with my clients. But also thinking about some of the mucilaginous herbs or the demulcent herbs that help to create sort of this juicy environment in addition to water of the gut microbiome. So things like aloe vera, marshmallow root. Also, there are other herbs that really help to sort of support bringing back together the gut lining, right? So helping to reduce that openness or that Swiss cheese appearance in the intestinal permeability, and instead bringing it back together. Kind of, it's a nice kind of healing and sealing gut approach. There are herbs that are specifically helpful, and there are also some nutrients that are specifically helpful, such as zinc carnosine. So zinc carnosine is one of the specific nutrients that can help to bring the gut lining back together and also help plump up and juicy up those cells. And another one is glutamine. Glutamine is another nutrient. It's an amino acid that is really necessary for the healthful turnover of these cells in the gastrointestinal tract. So if you've got the right probiotics on board, you've got some mucilaginous herbs, you've got zinc carnosine, you've got some glutamine, maybe some marshmallow, some aloe vera, you have the beginnings of what can be the healing of your leaky gut. Now, for complex systems and situations where you've been dealing with stuff for a long time, it's really important to work with a holistic nutrition professional who's board certified so that they can run the proper tests. They can consult with any other team members, maybe within your healthcare specialist or your primary care doctor, to make sure that you're getting the right approach. And then also to help, create for you that specific food plan that's not going to provoke inflammation, and also can get you with some of these customized, personalized supplement regimens and tell you how much to take and how long you need to be on it for. It's really important. All right, so we're going to come to the conclusion here on the gut microbiome and how it relates to thyroid autoimmunity as it pertains to secretory IgA. But the last thing that's kind of one of the things I want to mention, and it's maybe not surprising when you think about some of the things I was talking about with the frequent colds, autoimmunity, food intolerances, chemical sensitivities, etc., and also that weakened HPA axis. A lot of people who have low secretory IgA and have autoimmune disease like Hashimoto's also are dealing with some of the kind of mood and mental health issues that come along with it. Now, we do know, right, that our gut is our second brain, and many of our happy, healthy, feel-good hormones and neurotransmitters are produced in the digestive tract, right? we need to have that beneficial bacteria. We need to have the right nutrients present. But with low secretory IgA comes another challenge where it is difficult for the body. It is difficult for this second brain to produce some of the neurotransmitters and hormones that are needed to help keep your mood stable, to help you sleep, to help you feel, motivated and kind of just excited about life. And if you're dealing with low secretory IgA, it is common to have this come along with depression or anxiety. So a lot of times the fix, right, unfortunately, is when you go to visit your doctor about maybe a mental health condition, is to go on some medications. And I'm not against that, but I do think it's important to maybe address these underlying other issues that can be present. And sometimes certain medications further complicate the issue of low secretory IgA. So if you have Hashimoto's, if you have gut issues, and if you're dealing with depression and or anxiety, work with someone who can help test your secretory IgA and work on some natural solutions to help rebuild it. See if you don't start feeling better in a short period of time. It's all interconnected. So let's recap. Fix some stress issues in your life. Find some ways to cope. Find some ways to include some mindfulness in your life. Start taking a good probiotic that contains Saccharomyces boulardii. Incorporate some of the mucilaginous or demulcent herbs that help to make things nice and juicy. Boost your water intake. Support your adrenals in other ways, right? Kind of pay attention. What's going on with some of these other connected areas? Address food intolerances and make sure you're on an anti-inflammatory diet working with a proper holistic nutrition healthcare provider. And lastly, make sure that you do just speak to your prescribing physician if any of the medications that you're taking may be interfering with your digestive health or impacting maybe the worsening of a leaky gut. Be sure to check out some of my other videos. Thanks for watching this one, and I'll be back more with other videos every week. So remember to like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you soon. Take care.